Okay, so this is the Mathematics B, Unit 1 Statistics and Probability Calculator paper from February 2013. So if we take a look at question 1, we've got a ratio question. Okay, so Keith and Graham share £105 in the ratio 4:3. How much does Keith get? We've got a ratio, okay, we've got something split into parts. 4 plus 3 is 7, so I've got 7 parts in total. Okay, 105 divided by 7 is going to give me how much one part of money is worth. So, as it's a calculator paper, I can simply type that in to get £15. Okay, Keith, the question tells us, gets 4 parts of the 7. So you simply need to do 15 times 4, so 1 part times 4, which gives us 60. So the answer is £60. For the mark scheme, okay, your first mark is 4, working out 105 divided by 7 to give you 15. Your second mark, okay, is for the answer of 60. Fairly simple, just need to remember your ratios. Question 2. The probability a pea plant will grow is 93%. Sarah plants 800 seeds. How many seeds are going to grow into pea plants? So we've got percentage of amounts. Percentage is always out of 100, okay? Haven't got 100 here, I've got 800. But my total amount, so my 100%, all the seeds are 100%, so I've got 800 seeds in total. I need to find out 93% of 800, okay? So if 800 equals 100%, the way I'm going to work it out, is to go back to 1%, so unitary method, and multiply back up to get my 93%. So 800 divided by 100 is 8, multiplied by 93, I can just type in my calculator, gives me 744. Okay, so the answer is 744 seeds. With regards to the mark scheme, you get 1 mark for some sort of method. Okay, so this is the method I've used. Some people might have done 0.93 times 800. Okay, either way, 1 mark for method and then an answer mark. Important to note that this is a correct answer only answer mark. So if you do all this working in the calculator but don't write it down, so if you just write down 744, you would only get 1 mark rather than 2. Okay, so this is question 3. Manager of a sports centre is planning to use a new cycle track. How often would you use it? That's the question he wants to find out, so that's the question he's asking. Gives him the questionnaire, 3 boxes, options, a lot, quite a lot, not very often. We're asked to write down 2 things wrong with the question, okay? It's helpfully given us 2 things, and as it's a 2-mark question, each reason is probably going to be worth 1 mark. So, the first thing I'm going to point out is that there's no time frame that's been specified. Okay, so how often would you use a cycle track? Is that in a month, a week, a year? Okay, we don't know, it's not very clear, okay? The second thing you could write is that the responses are non-exhaustive. Okay, what that means is there's no option for someone to say they wouldn't use it at all, or that they would use it maybe every day, although that links more into the time frame. Basically, there's not an option for not at all. Okay, so either one of these would get you 1 mark. Okay, you could also have said that it's not very specific. So what that means is, what does a lot mean? Okay, we don't know. It can mean different things to different people. Okay, so any 2 out of these 3 will get you your 2 marks. We move on to question B. Okay, design a better question. Okay, so we can use what we've said is bad about question 1 to help us with this question. So I'm going to start by giving a time frame. Okay, how often would you use a cycle track in 1 week? Okay, and then I'm going to give exhaustive responses. So none. Okay, so you can say they're not going to use it at all, maybe 1 to 3 times a week, or more than 4. Okay, so everyone's covered. However many times you want to use it, you can put a tick in a box. With regard to the mark scheme, okay, your first mark is for your question with a time frame. Okay, so you don't have to pick a week, but as long as it's within a time, week, month, 2 weeks, a day, it doesn't really matter. Okay, and then your second mark is for 3 boxes. Okay, at least 3. They have to be non-overlapping. Okay, So obviously, for example, if in this question I'd written 1 to 4 and then more than 4, if you plan to use it 4 times a week, you wouldn't know which box to tick it in. It's not very helpful. Okay? It's also useful that the boxes are exhaustive. Okay? So mark 1 for the question and time frame. Second mark the 3 boxes that are non-overlapping and give an exhaustive response. Okay, so on to question 3C, which is a continuation from question 3. So, the manager of a sports centre plans to give the questionnaire to the first 20 people who get to the sports centre on a Tuesday morning. Give 2 reasons why this may not be a suitable sample. Okay, so 2-mark question, so each reason will give me 1 mark. So, I just circled some of the information there in the question. Okay, now I'm going to take you through some of the reasons. So, the first reason, it's going to be too small a sample. Okay, he's only asking 20 people. That's not going to be a reliable enough group of people to give us a good idea of whether there should be a cycle track. Okay, the second reason you could have had is that it's not a random sample. Okay, so either of those would have given you 1 mark each, so 2 marks in total. Okay, however, you could have also written other reasons which would have given you a mark. So, you could have talked about the time of day it was, okay, the place, okay, so it's a specific place, he's picked a specific day, okay, this all means he's going to be asking the same type of people, okay, so our data is not going to be as reliable. So any one of these I've just written down with the bullet points will also give you a mark, okay, so any 2 out of those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bullet points will give you the 2 marks you need. Okay, so moving on to question 4. We've got 40 children in a ski club, various different types of skis, okay, and we're asked to work out the number of children with twin-tip skis. So we need to sort through this information to find that out. So the first thing I notice is that we've got 2 variables here. Okay, we've got type of ski, so there's different type of skis. Okay, and gender, so I'm dealing with boys and girls. Okay, so a really good clear way of representing 2 variables is going to be a 2-way table. Okay, so I think the clearest way I can represent all this information is going to be to create a 2-way table, fill it out with the information, and then sort backwards through that. So let's take a look. Okay, so I'm going to set out my 2-way table. I've got gender, so boys and girls, on one side, and type of ski. Okay, so there are twin-tip skis, downhill skis, or slalom skis there. Okay, just to make it really clear, you might want to draw a table out, either with a ruler or without. Okay, so now I'm going to just fill in what I can from the information they've given me. So, there are 23 boys in the ski club. Okay, so the total number of boys is 23. Okay, 7 of the boys have twin-tip skis, 8 of the girls have downhill skis, 5 of the 9 children with slalom skis are girls. Okay, so 5 of the 9, so I need to have 4 boys with them to give me a total of 9. Okay, I know there are 40 children in total because the question tells me that at the beginning. So, 40 take away 23 gives me 17 girls in total. Okay, now there are 23 boys in total. I've got 11 boys here, so that must be 12 boys with downhill skis. 17 girls in total, 8 plus 5 is 13, so that needs to be 4 girls with twin-tip skis. Question's asking me the number of children with twin-tip skis. I've got 7 boys and 4 girls. Okay, so if I add them together, I get 11, which is my answer. Okay, so now let's have a look at the mark scheme. So this is a 4-mark question. Your first mark is for a 2-way table, okay, with at least 3 pieces of information, okay, which is quite easy to do because they've given us, okay, if we look in the question, they've given us quite a bit of information there. So just using that they've given us, you could have filled out the table. So that would have got you 1 mark. Your second mark would have been for using that information to find out either, 17 girls in total, or 4 boys with downhill skis. Okay, so your second mark is for using the table to fill out extra bits of information. Your final mark, not your final mark, sorry, your third mark is for adding together 7 plus 4. Okay, so your third mark is for working back to find there are either 12 boys with downhill skis or 4 girls with twin tip skis. Okay, so you get 1 mark for finding out 1 bit of information working backwards, your second mark finding out a second bit of information working backwards, and then your final mark, okay, is for obviously asking what the question's asking you to do. 7 plus 4, which is 11, okay, which is the answer mark there. So apologies for a couple of mistakes in that, but just to make it really clear again, 1 mark for the two-way table with 3 pieces of information, 1 mark for 17 girls in total, or for 4 boys with downhill skis, 1 mark for 12 boys with downhill skis, or for finding out there are 4 girls with twin tip skis, and your final answer mark is finding out there are 11 children with twin tip skis in total. Okay? Okay, so question 5, we've got a couple planning a holiday to Italy. They've got an 11-year-old daughter, okay, and we've got a table showing us information about the price of flights. They want to fly out on a certain date and fly back on a certain date. They have £1,600. The question is, do they have enough money? Okay, so the first thing I've noticed is that the price table, okay, gives us the price per adult. Okay, child fares are written down here. Okay, the question tells us that their child is 11 years old, so she's going to be in this category here. Okay, so she's going to be 75% of the adult fare. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is circle the flight. So if they fly out on the 29th of October, and they want to fly back on the 6th of November. Okay, so now I need to calculate the cost for all the family. So, if I look at their flight out on the 29th of October to Italy, okay, I've got the price of 1 adult is £283. So, the price of 2 adults is going to be double that, so 283 times 2. Okay, this is a calculator paper, so you can just type in on your calculator. 566. Okay, so that's the cost of 2 adults. Okay, now, to work out a child, it's going to be 75% of the cost of 1 adult, so 75% of 283. Okay, percent means out of 100, so 283 is 100%. I'm going to go back down to 1% by dividing by 100. Okay, so 1% is £2.83, and work my way back up to 75% by multiplying by 75. Okay, again, you can just use your calculator for this. So I've got £212.25. So the cost of 1 child is that. So the total cost for them to fly to Italy is 283 plus 283, which we've already figured out is 566, plus £212.25, which, if I write on my calculator, is going to give me £778.25. So that's the total cost of them going out. Okay, obviously, if they leave, they're going to need to come back home. So, on the 6th of November, the price of 1 adult, okay, is £285. So 2 adults is going to be double that. Okay, so 285 times 2, 570. Okay, the child is going to be 75% of 285. So, I divide that by 100, I'm going to get £2.85 times by 75. Which is going to give me £213.75. So the total cost of them going out is 570 plus 213.75, which is £783.75. Okay, so now the question tells me they've got £1,600 to spend on flights. So the total cost of all the flights, £783.75 plus £778.25, is 1,562. So yes, they do have enough money. Okay, so let's take a look at the mark scheme. This is a 6-mark question, so loads of marks you could pick up here. Okay, you get your first mark, okay, just figuring out, just for reading information off the table and finding out the cost of one adult on the correct day. So the cost of one adult, so just for doing that, finding out the cost of one adult on either day gives you your first mark. Okay, your second mark, therefore, is for working out the cost of 2 adults on any given day. Okay, so pick the correct days, 1 adult, 1 mark, 2 adults is your second mark. Okay, your third mark is for doing the percentage of the amount, so finding out the cost of the child, either going in or coming back. Okay, your fourth mark is for adding all of that together to give you the total it will cost the family to fly either in or out of Italy. Okay, so obviously I'm marking it here on their flight out, but you could have done the same thing for their flight in. Okay, your fifth mark is for working out this total cost. So flights, a return flight. Okay, so not just one way. Okay, and your final mark is for saying yes. Okay, they do have enough money, because this is all the working, but you need to actually answer the question, do they have enough money to spend on their flights, by saying yes. So that's where your 6 marks all come from. Okay, so question 6. We're given the lengths of 18 different boats, okay, and we're asked to draw an ordered stem and leaf diagram. You must include a key. Okay, this is a 3-mark question. They've given us big hints in the question by telling us the diagram needs to be ordered and a key must be included. Okay, if it's got to be in order, the sensible thing that we always do is put them in order from smallest to biggest. Okay, so what's my smallest number? Looks like it is 26, okay, and my biggest number looks like it's 66. Okay, so in my stem and leaf diagram, which I've already helpfully put down for us here, okay, I'm going to start and I'm going to go up in tens. So 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. 26 was my smallest, okay. So if I look back up at the data, okay, you could either start by just ordering them yourself. So I can see 26, I've already crossed out. 27 seems like the next one. 29, okay. 30, 34, 42, 44, 47, another 47. Oh, and there were 2 42s as well, which I missed, so I can helpfully sort that in there. Okay, 53, 56, 57, 58, 63, 64, and 66. Okay, so if you ever want to check your answers, obviously it tells you there are 18 different, so I can check there are 18 different numbers I should have here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Oh, this means I'm missing one. So, oh, there were 2 58s. Okay, that was a problem. So there's a helpful tip on how you should only cross out once you've actually crossed out. So now all I can do is put that in my stem and leaf diagram. So 7, 9, 0, 4, 2, 2, 4, 7, 7, 3, 6, 7, 8, 8, and 3, 4, 6. Okay, so now I've drawn out my stem and leaf diagram. Okay, the question tells us you must include a key. You should know that anyway. They've even helpfully put this box down here for us. So key 296 is equal to 26. Okay, so this is a 3-mark question with regards to the mark scheme. Okay, your first mark is for some sort of diagram. Okay, so just for putting numbers in here, you get some sort of mark. Okay, your second mark is for an ordered diagram. Okay, so if you put them in by order of size, that's where your second mark comes from. Your third and final mark is obviously for the key. Okay, so don't ever miss out that mark on getting the key. Okay, so this is question 7 of the March 2013 Statistics and Probability Calculator paper. So we've got a piece of wood that has 65 centimetres to the nearest centimetre. What is the least possible length of the piece of wood? So if we're thinking about nearest centimetres, that gives us a clue. We are dealing with rounding, okay? So what's the least possible length of wood? So if I've got something 65 centimetres, I'm rounding to the nearest centimetres, 64.5 and above, or 65.5 is my range, okay? That's my 1 centimetre range. So my least possible length of wood is going to be 64.5 centimetres, okay? And they've handily given us the units there, but if they're not there, you will need to write them, okay? Because 64.4 obviously rounds down. That's a very simple 1-mark question. You just get that mark for writing the answer, okay? B, what is the greatest possible length of wood? So we've said 65.5, okay? That is accepted in the mark scheme as getting 1 mark, okay? But actually, I don't personally like that because if it's 65.5, you'd probably round up to 66. So while 65.5 is perfectly fine, the mark scheme also accepts 65.49, okay? That's far more accurate, okay? So you get 1 mark for, not 64, 65.49, okay? Because 65.4 would obviously round down, okay? So that is your 2nd mark there, okay? Question 8. We've got information and it's asking us to draw a box plot, okay? So a box plot, you should know, okay, we need a box representing our median. So our median's 20. So line your ruler up with 20. Okay. Our lower quartile's 18. Now, look at these squares, okay? 1 big square is worth 5. Half a square is going to therefore be worth 2.5. So each little square is going to be worth 0.5, okay? So whenever you're dealing with graphs in an exam, always work out what each little square is worth, okay? So if I'm looking at 18, this is 17.5 because it's in between 15 and 20. I need to go 1 square past the middle for my lower quartile. Okay, my upper quartile is bang on 25, so I don't need to worry too much about that. And then I need to join these up to make a box, okay? So the clue's in the name, box plot. Okay, now I need to mark on some whiskers. So every box need a box and whiskers, okay? So I've got 30, okay, and 14. So if each little square is 0.5, I need to go back 2 little squares from 15, okay? And join that up like so. So with regards to your mark scheme, this question's worth 3 marks. So if you just get, okay, 3 correct values, okay, so there are 5 values in total. If you get 3 out of 5, that'll give you your 1st mark, okay? You'll get your 2nd mark, okay, for 2 correctly plotted values. That have to include, okay, the box or the tails. So your 3 correct values could have been these 3, for example, but you wouldn't have got your 2nd mark for that because you haven't got both tails or the whole box, okay? So you need either the whole box or both tails correctly plotted. And obviously your final mark is for everything correct, okay? So there's a good chance, even if you don't know what you're doing, you can pick up at least 1 mark for that question. Okay, so this is question 9. We've got 2 different data sets about plants in a greenhouse. Some are given fertilizer and some aren't, okay? And we're told to compare the distribution of the plants given fertilizer to the plants not given fertilizer, okay? If we look at the information they've given us, one is just the actual heights of all the plants they've measured. The other is telling us smallest, largest, median, lower quartile, upper quartile. So there's a big hint in that they probably want us to find similar sorts of information about this, the heights of the plants given fertilizer, in order to compare them. So I'd probably start by working out the median of this, okay? Handily for us, the data's already in size order from smallest to biggest. So if I cross out one from each side, I should end up with 40. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I should end up with 47. Okay, so my median, okay, for the heights of the plants given fertilizer is 47. Okay, so I'm going to just write median of fertilizer for shorthand is 47. Okay, not given fertilizer, okay, is 44. So you can make some sort of comparison there. Okay, median of plants given fertilizer is bigger. Okay, so that's our first comparison when we compare the medians. Okay, the second thing we could work out is the interquartile range. So in order to do that, we're obviously going to need to find the quartiles. Okay, so if I go back to my diagram here, okay, so the interquartile range of this one is 47 take away 26, which is 21. Okay, the interquartile of this one is now I've just done the classic mistake of including the median, okay, to find my lower quartile. So my lower quartile here is 35, and my upper quartile is 56. So my interquartile range is going to be 21. Okay, so that's quite interesting. Okay, so my second statement could be that the interquartile range, okay, is the same. Okay, so what about the actual range of heights? Okay, so for this one, the highest one I had, it's a bit hard to see now crossed out, that was 72 and that's 22. Okay, so my range is 50. Okay, for this one, my largest is 64, my smallest is 18, which is, if I check using a calculator, 46. So another thing I could say is that the range of the plants given fertilizer was greater. Okay, you could also compare the quartiles themselves. Okay, but let's take a look at the mark scheme. So your first mark is for working out the median, okay, of the data that doesn't already tell us that, so the heights of the plants given fertilizer. Okay, so your second mark would be for finding out, okay, either the, not finding out, sorry, your second mark is for actually using that to do some sort of comparison. Okay, so if you just work out the median, it's 1 mark. If you make some sort of comparison, okay, you get your second mark. Okay, and if you work out the median incorrectly, okay, as long as you make a comparison, you can get a forfeit mark. So compare whatever you've worked out, you still get a mark. Okay, your third mark, okay, would be for working out the interquartile range or the range. Okay, and again, you get a mark for making a comparison using that. Okay, which again can be a follow through, sorry, depending on what you've actually worked out. So, okay, if you do the median plus comparison, that's your 2 marks, and either the interquartile range or just the range plus comparison, you get another 2 marks. Okay, and any one of just these will get you 1 mark. But obviously the median would need to be correct, the interquartile range and range would need to be correct. The comparisons, you could work these out incorrectly, but if you still use that data to make a comparison, you can still get 1 mark on it. Okay? So that's how that question would be answered. Okay, this is question 10 of the March 2013 B Statistics Calculator paper. So I've been given a table showing information about 90 employees in a factory. We've got group data here, and they want an estimate for the mean age, okay? So, because I've got group data, okay, I obviously can't find an exact mean, which is why the question's asked me to find an estimate, okay? In order to find an estimate for the mean age, because I've got group data, the first thing I want to do, okay, is find midpoints of each group. So 15 to 25, my midpoint would be 20, 25 to 35, 30, and so on, okay? So those are all my midpoints. That's because the formula for the mean is the sum of my frequency, okay, times the midpoint divided by the sum of my frequency. Okay? So, in order to find the frequency times the midpoint, so fx, okay, I just need to multiply each of these. So, you can just use your calculator or do it in your head, but it is a calculator paper, so it's probably safer to use your calculator. Okay? So, I've just found these numbers by multiplying my frequency times my midpoint each time. Sigma means sum. Okay? So I want the sum of all of these numbers, which if I type into a calculator, is going to give me 3,520, and I want the sum of all my frequencies. I can add those together to check, but I've already been told there are 90 employees in total. So in order to find my estimate for the mean, I need to do 3,520 divided by 90, which is 39.1 recurring. Okay, so 39.1 recurring years. Okay, with regards to the mark scheme, okay, your first mark is for finding an fx. Okay, so in this case, frequency times midpoint. However, if you attempt to find some sort of fx, that might not necessarily be that, you'll still get the mark. Okay, the second mark is for finding for correct midpoints. Okay, so you need to have 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. There are 5 midpoints to find in total. If you get 4 of those, that's your second mark. The third mark is for knowing this formula, okay, and working out that the sum of whatever your fx is needs to be divided by 90. Okay. Your final mark is just for the answer. Okay. So you need that answer to get your final mark. So there's potential for you to get 2 marks out of 4 even without finding the correct midpoints. So fairly generous, but whenever we're dealing with group data and mean, you need to find midpoints, multiply them by the frequency, and memorize this formula. Okay, the sum of the frequency times midpoint divided by the sum of the frequency. So on to question B. Complete the cumulative frequency table. Okay, cumulative means we're adding together. So 15 to 25, we know from the previous table there are 12 employees in that category. There were 27 employees in the 25 to 30 category. For cumulative frequency, I need to add that 27 onto that 12, okay? Which gives me 39. There were 18 employees who were 35 to 45. I need to add that on to give me 57, okay? There were 23 employees, 45 to 55. Add that on to give me 80. And there were 10 employees, 55 to 65, okay? So I'm just adding those on. It's a 1-mark question. You need to get all of these right in order to get that mark. C is asking us to plot these points on a cumulative frequency graph. Okay? If we're dealing with cumulative frequency, the first thing to note is that the points are plotted at the upper class boundary. So that means, okay, if I'm looking at, so if I just zoom out, okay, if I'm looking at 15 to 25, I plot my point at 25, okay? So remember our scale. 1 big square is 10, which means 1 little square is going to be not 0.1, just 1. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so I've got 12 employees who are 15 to 25, so I go up 25 to 12. And just do a little cross there. Okay, so if I zoom back in again, okay, I've got 39 employees, 15 to 35. So go across to 35 and up to 39. Okay. I've got 57 employees who are 15 to 45. So if I go across to 45 and up to 57. 8, 9, 8, 7. Okay. I have 80 employees, 15 to 55. So across to 55. Across to 55 and up to 80. Find me 90 employees who are up to 65. And I have plotted that in the wrong place, so apologies for that. Okay, so I've plotted that in pen there because it's a bit easier for you to see. So ignore that, that's the mistake I've made. But obviously in the exam, if you did what I just did and made a mistake, you'd be writing in pencil and you could just rub it out with a rubber. So that highlights the importance of using a pencil to do these sort of things. Right, so draw a cumulative frequency graph. So I've plotted my points, okay? A hint here is it's a 2-mark question, so plotting my points is only going to get me 1 mark, okay? In order to get my second mark, I need to join them up, because right now it's not a graph, it's just points plotted. So I'm choosing to freehand this. You can use a ruler if you prefer, go point to point, but it should look something like that, okay? So I've got my graph there, so your first mark, okay, is for plotting your points, okay? So mark 1 for plotting them, okay? Your second mark is for joining them, okay? But if you draw a line of best fit, that obviously doesn't count. You need to go point to point, whether that's freehand with a curve like I did, okay, or line by line, point to point with a ruler. Either way, it needs to be joined up. So, find an estimate for the median age. Okay, the median age is going to be where, if I ordered the employees from youngest to oldest, who's in the middle of that? Okay, it's an estimate because obviously it's group data, we're not sure what we're doing. Okay, so I have 90 employees in total. Okay, that means my median age is going to be the 45th person. Okay, if I ordered them from youngest to oldest, my 45th person would be my median person. So I need to go across from 45, okay, and then go down. Okay, and it looks like I've got someone who is 39 years old. Okay, so obviously depending on how you join up your cumulative frequency graph points, there's going to be a bit of leeway, but anywhere in the range of 36 to 39 will give you 1 mark. Okay, DII, the number of employees over the age of 50. So this time I'm looking along this axis, which is my age, okay, over the age of 50. So I'm going to go up, okay, and if you can see that there. Okay, that colour's not quite clear, so let's try it. Okay, up from 50, where the line hits, go across. Okay, so I'm reading up from 50, so that gives me my first mark. So drawing that line in itself will give you 1 mark. Okay, I've hit what looks like, okay, 68 here. Okay, I've got 90 employees in total. 68 of them are 50 or younger. Okay, so I need to do 90 take away 68. Sorry, I've realised I've just completely read that graph wrong. No, I haven't. 90 take away 68, which is 22. Okay, so I think from my graph there are 22 employees over the age of 50. Again, because it's not an exact science, okay, the mark scheme states it will give you 1 mark for anywhere between the range of 19 to 23 years. Okay, so you get 1 mark just for reading up from 50. Your second mark is for actually going across, stating the age. Don't forget you need to take it away from 90 because that just gives us 68 is just the people who are under 50. I want the people over 50, okay, which gives me 22. But you could have anywhere between 19 and 23. Okay, so this is question 11 of the paper. So, Martin has bought a computer for 1,200. At the end of each year, the value of the computer depreciates by 20%. Okay, so depreciate means decreases. After how many years will the value be £491.52? You must show you're working. Okay, so that's a big hint there that this is going to be a CAO mark. So you've got 3 marks in total, but if you don't show you're working, you're probably only going to get 1 mark. So, how would we answer this? Well, we know that percent means out of 100. Okay, so we've 100%. If it's depreciating by 20%, that means it goes down by 20% each year. Okay, that means at the end of 1 year, it's going to be worth 80% of the original cost, because 100 minus 20 is 80. Okay, in terms of calculating percentages, the first thing you want to do is think about converting them to decimals. So 100% is equal to 1, okay, 80% is going to be equal to 0.8. So, the way I would work this out is, at the end of the first year, we've got 1,200 multiplied by 0.8, okay? So at the end of the year, it's going to be worth 80% of what it originally was. So, type it in on the calculator, okay, at the end of 1 year, it's going to be worth £960. Okay, for year 2, I take that, and I multiply by 0.8 again, okay? So at the end of the second year, it's going to be worth £768, okay? At the end of the third year, so I need to repeat this, it's going to be worth £614.40. So we've got 0.4. And at the end of the 4th year, so you can see we're getting closer and closer to £491. Excellent. So we've got to £491.52. Okay, so the question isn't obviously this answer, because we know that already. It's asking us how many years. So the answer is 4 years. Okay. So with regard to the mark scheme, you get your first mark for working out that it has to be something to do with 80%. Okay, so the decimal of 0.8 will get you your first mark. Okay. Your second mark, okay, is for doing all this working. Okay, so some sort of working out will give you your second mark. Okay. Your final mark is for the answer of 4 years, and again, as I predicted, correct answer only has to be supported by working. Okay. So, on to question 12. So here we've got a table. It shows the number of students in a year group, in each year group at college. The college secretary took a stratified sample of 135 students by year group. Work out the number of year 2 students in her sample. Okay, so you should know that a stratified sample is a proportional sample. Okay? So, what you need to do is work out the proportion of students that are year 2 students out of the total. So you've got 140 out of 240. So that gives me 7 over 12. Okay? And then I need to multiply that by her sample size. Okay? That gives me right, it doesn't give me the right answer because I've just realised I've written out that wrong. So when I did that, I got the wrong answer. Okay, obviously I can't have 0.75 of a person, so that led me to check my workings. So that's not 7 out of 12, that is actually 1/3. Okay, now this time I should get a whole person. Yes, and I do. Perfect. Okay, so it is 45 people. So with regards to the mark scheme, okay, there's 2 marks available here. So you're going to get 1 mark for doing this working, okay? Obviously, without making the mistake I did. The second mark is for the answer of 45, okay? Again, this is correct answer only, which means if you just write 45, you're only going to get 1 mark. This is question 13 of the March 2013, Edexcel Statistics and Probability Calculator paper. So I've got a question here about the weight of oranges, okay? And it's asking me to use the histogram, okay? So they're giving me a histogram here. Use the information here to complete the table up here. So histograms, we know, are all about frequency density. So it's more about, rather than reading off data and information from along this axis as you would in a line graph, it's about the area, how much each little square is actually worth. Okay, so what information have I got that's both on the table and on the graph, on the histogram? Okay, that's going to give me what each little square is worth. So I have information for, okay, the 50 to 60 size weight, okay, is represented here on the histogram. There are 13 oranges that are between 50 and 60 grams. Okay, here I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares across. Okay, so if I zoom in a little bit. Okay, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 squares down. So I've got 5 times 13 squares, which is 65. So 65 squares represents 13 oranges. Okay, that means one orange is going to be 65 divided by 13. Okay, so again, I can just type that in easily on a calculator, which is 5. So 5 squares equals 1 orange. Okay, so I divided both those by 13 in order to get that. So if I know 5 squares equals 1 orange, here I need to find out how many oranges are between 0 and 20 grams. So if we go back to the histogram, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I've got 10 times 5 squares there. I've got 50 squares, okay? There aren't 50 oranges because 5 squares is 1 orange. So 50 divided by 5 is going to give me 10. So 50 squares represents 10 oranges, okay? You also need to know how many oranges are between 30 and 50 grams. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I've got 10 squares there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 squares there. I've got 90 squares there. Okay, 90 divided by 5 gives me 18. So I've got 18 oranges that are between 30 and 50 grams. Okay, that's what gives you your 2 marks. So your first mark there is for counting the squares, finding the ratio, and dividing by the correct thing. Okay, so you get a mark for each one. Okay, give you your 2 marks. Okay, B, use the table to complete the histogram. So we're missing 20 to 30. There are 15 oranges between 20 to 30 grams. So 15 oranges. If I've got a ratio of 5 squares to 1 orange, okay, I need to do, okay, 5 times 15, which is going to be 75, okay? So I've got to have 75 squares representing 20 to 30 oranges. Here I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares across, which makes it quite handy for me actually, because if I'd spotted that earlier, each one line across, if it's 5 squares, is going to represent 15 oranges anyway. So I only need to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 15 squares up. Okay? So 15 little squares, 3 1.5 big squares. Okay? So that's 75 squares in total. Okay? So that's my first one done. Now I need to work out 60 to 75. The table tells me that's 15 oranges as well. So I know I've got to have 75 squares again. This time though, I don't have 5 squares across. I've got 7.5 squares. So each one across represents 1.5 oranges. Okay? So 2 squares up is going to be 3 oranges. So I want, okay, my line to come across here. Okay. Okay, so I've got 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Okay, and that's going to be my 50 there. So that altogether is 75 squares again. Okay, so it's just a matter of working out the frequency density, so how much each square in your histogram represents, and then if you need to, even individually counting along the squares, if that's how you do it, that's fine. Okay, so your first mark here, okay, similar to the question above, would be for working out drawing the line in the right place there, and your second mark, drawing the right line in the right place there. Okay, it's not really much more you can do if you get it completely wrong. Unlike other questions, it's harder to pick up marks, but if you do it correctly, okay, we've got 4 marks for that histogram question in total. Okay. This is question 14 of the March 2013 Edexcel B paper. Okay, so here I've got 3 graphs, and it's asking me to match the graphs, okay, to the correct equations down here. So the first thing, okay, I'm going to look at is see if I recognise any of these equations. So y equals x cubed. Well, if I did a rough sketch of that, okay, it would look something like that. Okay, that's because it would go through 0, and negative numbers cubed are also negatives, so that's why we'd have some sort of downward slope past 0. Okay. Y equals x squared is a lot easier to spot. We all know that's going to look something like that. Okay, that's x squared. That's because negative numbers, when they're squared, are positive. Okay? X, we've got a graph here that says y equals x squared plus 4. We know that's the y-intercept for that graph is going to be 4. That looks a lot like this graph. Okay? So I'm going to say A is y equals x squared plus 4. Okay? I've got y equals 1 over x. Okay? So this graph is going to look something like this. That's because you can't really divide a number by 0, so it gets what's called an asymptote along the y-axis. Okay, none of these graphs look like that, so I can rule that one out. That means this graph, which I was a bit unsure of, because I wasn't quite familiar with it, I think I'm going to go with y equals x cubed. Okay, so I've got, it goes through 0, which is what I want for x cubed, and negative numbers are still negative. Negative cube numbers are still negative. Okay, positive numbers are obviously positive. So that leaves me with C as being y equals 2 to the power of x. If I check that, that's correct, if I think about it for a little bit, because negative powers, okay, so 2 to the power of minus 1, for example, is going to give me some sort of fractional in this fraction, okay, because that's 1 over 2, or 2 to the power of minus 8 would be 1 over 2 to the power of 8. Okay, so it's going to get further along this way I go, the smaller and smaller it's going to get. Okay, and this way, okay, it's an exponential graph. So 2 to the power, the bigger the power gets, the bigger 2 is going to get, and we've got a steep curve going up there. So that makes sense. I think this question is quite hard. Okay, with regards to the mark scheme, you just get 1 mark for each one you match correctly. There's not really much in the way of workings you can do. If you don't know, obviously, because of this, it's just worth having a guess. But the main way to do this one is learn the common graphs, memorize them, and then you can match them. Okay? Okay, question 15. I've got a probability question. 2 students have taken the test, and the question tells me the probability that they will pass the test. Okay, so the first thing I think about when I think about probability is I'm going to think about a probability tree. Okay, a probability tree diagram. That's going to enable me to represent this data in order to work out the probability that both of them fail. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to work out is the probability that they fail the test. So it's given us the probabilities that they each pass the test. Okay, so as these are mutually exclusive probabilities, they sum to 1. So the probability that Lily fails the test is 1 take away 0.6, which is 0.4. So that's the probability that Lily fails. Okay, the probability that Anna fails is going to be 0.2. Okay, so now I've worked that out, I can do my probability tree diagram. So, it doesn't matter if you start with Lily or Anna. I'm going to start with Lily, just because she's first in the question. So the probability she passes is 0.6, probability she fails is 0.1. Now we've got Anna. Probability Anna passes is 0.8, probability she fails is 0.2. Okay, and that's the same regardless of whether Lily fails or passes. Okay, so now I want to work out the probability that both girls fail the test. So, for Lily, I'm going to go down this route, and for Anna as well. So, I need to do 0.4 times 0.2, which is going to be 0.08. Okay, with regards to the mark scheme, you get, okay, 1 mark for working out either that Lily fails or that Anna fails, okay? So either one of these two numbers will get you your mark, okay? Your second mark is going to be for drawing a tree diagram, okay, and following some sort of branch there. So any information that's going to lead you to this is going to get you your second mark. Okay, your final mark is just for the answer, 0.08. Okay. If we look at B, work out the probability that both these girls pass the test, or that both of these girls fail the test. So we already know that the probability that both fail is 0.08. Okay. Both the girls passing, I need to go back to my probability tree. Both of them passing is going to be 0.6 times 0.8. Okay? So, probability, both pass, equal 0.6 times 0.8, which is going to give me 0.48. Okay, now the question says both pass or both fail. Okay, or means I need to add these two probabilities together. Okay, which gives me 0.56. Okay, this is another 3-mark question. So your first mark is for doing 0.6 times 0.8. So working out the probability that both pass. Okay. Your second mark is for adding them. Okay. And your final mark is for the correct answer. Okay, A1. So you might have maybe made a mistake in section A, okay, and worked out the wrong probability. But as long as you follow that through and work out these two correctly, okay, you obviously wouldn't get the answer mark, but you still get 2 out of 3 marks, even if you've done A incorrectly. Okay.